So what we're going to look at, very, very briefly, is firstly, the opposite of what we're trying to do. So if you want to do bad research, let's see how you would do bad research. So what we're going to look at is actually how you do bad research, and then we're going to try and do the opposite of that. So the first part of the slides is all about bad research, practices you want to avoid, problems and errors that we can make when we're trying to do research. So that's what we're going to start off with, and then we're going to look at the positive, the kind of inverse of that, how we actually do good research, and some of the tips and kind of tricks that you can use to make sure that you're on target and that you don't waste time when you're doing research. But the first one is to be the leading expert in the field. Create your own field. Don't worry about what others have done, because you know this field very well, and you don't need to worry about any kind of problems in those terms. Make lots of sweeping statements about your research. So this method is completely generic. It's applicable in all possible situations. Will always give you 100% results. Those kind of statements. The second bad move would be to have complexity in your system. So the more complex it is, the better it is. If people are telling you they're confused about what you're doing, that's great. Obviously, you're doing something very, very clever, and that you can understand that stuff, which they obviously can't. And don't be put off if they give you kind of negative criticism. So, don't be proven wrong is the next bad trait. So, don't do quantitative experiments. That only gives critics room to actually criticise your work. Avoid benchmarks. Take projects that are really long in terms of their payoff. So greater than 20 years is perfect, because in 19 years' time you'll probably be doing something else. And the most important one, don't be self-critical of your work. Don't analyse how well you're doing. We saw the usual scientific method. I'm going to propose a slightly different one if you want a bad career in research. So the easier method than the usual scientific method is that you start off with a hunch, and then you take one experiment, you change all the parameters. If it doesn't support what you want, you throw it away and start again. I think we had one of the questions earlier that responded to that. So where you change your results, or you change your experiment to try and fit with your hunch. And actually, why bother actually? Because it's so obvious anyway. Everybody should be able to see it. So that's the easier scientific method. Don't get feedback, because you should always be leading the conversation. Don't listen to what other people say. Don't read what people are writing in your area, because you know best. So just don't worry about it. If people give you feedback that's critical, then it's because they're jealous probably. So don't worry about that. Okay, you can see the flavour of this. It has a humorous element. Then we're going to go on to the actual kind of things you should be doing. So. Most importantly, never ask for guidance, never ask for help, because that's weakness, and that just shows up that you don't know what you're doing. And of course, most importantly, you're always right, because remember, you invented that field, which is slightly different to somebody else's, but you know all about it, so you're the expert. Publishing a journal paper, that's knowledge transfer, and if people read it and they can't understand, not your problem. All you've got to do is actually just create the journal paper, and that's knowledge transfer. Don't waste time at conferences talking to people. You might get feedback that you don't like. It might be negative. Don't do any of that. You already know about your problem. This is writing taxes. This is related to the previous talk. So you start off with, obviously, because you want quantity, not quality, because we want as many papers as possible. So we start off with one idea. And then, from those one idea, we get 4 journal papers, and then from 4 journal papers, we get 16 extended abstracts, and from 64 technical reports, and that way we get lots and lots of papers and a really full CV. So that's obviously the way to do things. When you get a bit more senior, you're supervising students. The more students you have, the better. The more papers that they churn out, the better. Quality, we don't worry about. So I hope everybody took that in the right spirit, because I just wanted to kind of give you the kind of things you shouldn't be doing, the negative, and now we're going to look at the positive things, some of the tips that you can use to actually improve your research, to actually make sure that you're doing things in the right way. So the first thing, this horrible named Hail-Myers catechism, but actually this is something that every researcher should print out and hang on their wall. Because when they're wanting to write a proposal for funding, when they want to write a thesis topic, when they want to, whatever your project is or whatever you're trying to do, you should ask yourself all of these questions. So you should be asking, what are you trying to do? You should be able to tell people what you're trying to do without jargon. So it should be in nice, simple terms that other people can understand. You should know about how other people have done it. What have they done so far? What's the limits? What haven't people done? So you should be aware of all of that, and that's where you need to read around your subject. You need to understand what others are doing in that area. What's new in your approach? Why will that actually tackle a problem? Why do you think it will be successful? Because obviously you do. You wouldn't be proposing it if you didn't think it would work. But why do you think it would work? How could you back that up? Who cares? Biggest question. Any funding agency that's looking at your proposal, that's probably one of the biggest questions they ask. Who cares? Why should I care about this? So you need to have a good reason why this research is important. What is it going to achieve? So if it's successful, what difference will it make? What are the risks? What are the potential payoffs? How much will it cost? Well, that may not apply to a PhD, although perhaps it would, because you have to make sure you can finish a PhD. So, budgeting your own money may be the point of that. How long will it take? Well, obviously there's always a deadline. So if it's a PhD, you want to be doing it in 3 or 4 years. You don't want to be taking 7 or 8. If it's a project, you need to stick to deadlines. So that means you have to manage your time. And finally, you have to have some kind of, along the journey, some kind of milestone, some kind of point to which you look at your progress and say, how far have I got? How am I doing? Is this the right path? Should I change it? So you need to have those checks. And really, this covers up everything. I mean, if you don't take anything else away from this talk, please just print out these questions. And every time you propose something in terms of a paper you want to write, or a project, or your thesis, ask these questions, because it will solve most of the problems that you can have. Okay, so now we're going to look at the kind of opposites of what we looked at in the previous slides. So the actual goal of doing research is to have impact. It's a very grand aim to actually change the way that people do work in your field, but we're not talking about huge change. Maybe it may be incremental, but when people cite your work, that in that way you've changed the field. Somebody else has read your work, understood what you've written, and based on that, they have made some decision or come to some determination regarding their work. So, this doesn't have to be a grand thing, but you should in some way aim to make a contribution to your field. You should be able to say at the end of it, maybe a PhD, at the end of that, I've contributed to knowledge. It may not be huge. You may not get, huge awards for it, but you can say that you've made a contribution to knowledge. Also, that papers, I think we said in the previous talk, that papers are a means to an end, not an end in themselves. So the publish or perish philosophy that people have is really very dated. We don't need to do that. What we need to do is actually make sure that what we write communicates the idea properly. It's got the relevant depth and scope, and so that we actually publish good quality papers, even if that means we reduce the numbers that we actually write. And so in terms of a 6-step process, you should select a problem, look at the solution, then carry out that solution. So you might implement some code, or you might carry out some experiments. Then obviously you'll get some results. You'll finish the project. You'll do some quantitative evaluation of those results. So that's very important, to prove to others that your stuff actually works. It does what you say it will. And then you need to transfer that technology onto others. So that's where earlier in the day we heard about kind of technology transfer, startup companies, that kind of thing, which is increasingly important. So this is now kind of running parallel to the bad things. So instead of inventing a new field, what you actually want to do is something that somebody really cares about. You need to know what other people have done in your field. You need to try to work in multidisciplinary ways. So if there's an opportunity to work with somebody from a totally different field, then that's really beneficial to you, because you'll see newer ways of working, you'll have new ideas, you'll have really good applications of what you're doing, and that can be very beneficial. I've worked in the past with some very eminent medical people, and that's taught me a lot about the kind of new ways of doing things. So that's really important. When you're proposing something, you need to know about the strengths and weaknesses of your local environment. So you may not have access to everything that you need for a particular project, then perhaps change that project round a little bit. Make sure you play to the strengths that you have. Also make sure that you're excited about it. So doing research is all about being excited, because it's a long haul. If it's a PhD, it's going to be at least 3 years before you see the fruitage of your work. So you need to be excited about it. You need to plan your time. You need to have time to play with things. So people sometimes think, right, I'm doing some research now, I've got to be I can't play with anything, I've got to have a really focused mindset. But actually, often, by trying out a technology or playing it, we understand it better, and that saves us time in the long run. So don't be frightened to allow a little bit of time to actually try out technologies, to play with things, because often that's when we learn. Maybe sometimes we learn the kind of question that we should be asking. As said before, we need to keep a logbook of our results, of our ideas. When did we have them? How did we get them? How could they be used? So keep that safe. Back it up. Back all your data up. Don't get to the end of a PhD and then say, oops, where's all my data gone? Or my hard drive's crashed. Please, can I send it to some software recovery firm or something like that? So be careful with your data. It's really important to what you're doing. Try to reduce the complexity of what you do. So the best solution is often the easiest, the simplest, the one that everybody says, oh, why didn't I think of that solution? Rather than a very complex solution. Same picture, by the way, I noticed as the slides earlier. Do your homework. Don't just assume that it's the best solution. Make sure you know why you're choosing this, and try to understand the properties of what you're using, and try to be able to explain that to others, justify it in a logical way. Don't use the easy scientific method we looked at earlier. Use the proper scientific method. Have a hypothesis, have some experiments, make sure that you do it in a very standardized, rigorous way, and look at how in your field results are presented to the community, because quite often there are standard ways that people do and present research. So look in your particular field and see how they do it. What do they use in terms of benchmarks? And use your intuition. You can use it, but don't use it to answer questions. Use it to ask questions. So, sometimes some of the best questions come when you kind of intuitively feel that something's the case and you ask, why is this the case? But don't use it to answer them, because you can't back up anything with intuition. Pick a good name if you're going to do something. This is probably the one slide that survived from computer science, because often we like trendy names. If we're running a research project or we're doing some research, PhD or MSc thesis, then we need to have periodic reviews of what we're doing. Make sure we're on course. If we're not on course, we need to go back on track. We need to have humility, so that if somebody tells us something we don't want to hear, we say thank you. I'll go and correct that. I'll go and change that. Rather than, oh, why are you digging at my research and getting cross? So we need humility. We need to understand that we don't know everything. We're always learning. Sometimes people see problems in our work that we don't notice. Be our own harshest critic. So try to analyse your own work. If you shouldn't need other people to be really critical of your work. You should be your own harshest critic. Make sure that you really test out your ideas. You test out your results. You ask all the awkward questions. You don't hide from them, because that's the only way you can actually make sure that you're doing good research. And if something goes wrong, change your course a little bit. Move the direction. Try a new technique. That's not a problem. Research is all about finding dead ends sometimes, and then being able to cope with it, having the determination to make sure you finish it. You need to make sure you finish projects, and projects often go through a really hard part, where you feel, oh goodness, I'm never going to finish this. This is too hard. And then you work really hard and you put a lot of effort in, and eventually you get over that hill, and then it's easy. It's much easier. But you need to put the effort in to do that. It's not glamorous sometimes. I joke that some people have told me, you know, I did 3 PhDs when I only needed to do 1. Well, I say limit yourself to 2 PhDs, but don't do too much work. You know, your supervisor will guide you, and trust them. If they tell you that you're finished, that you need to write up, trust them. Don't keep working. Okay. You know, evaluate your stuff quantitatively. Use benchmarks that are relevant to your field so that you communicate it in the right way. And try to make sure you use appropriate benchmarks. You don't have to go straight to a journal paper. Sometimes going to conferences, talking your ideas through, that's the better way of actually communicating your idea. And so it starts off with kind of explaining the idea to other people. And it may take time for people to give it acceptance. You know, new ideas often take a little while for people to understand. They're not always accepted straight away. And don't get disheartened if that's the case. I mean, just be persistent, listen to what they're saying, listen to feedback. But if you're confident that your idea works, then just keep plodding away. Eventually people will understand it. And there's a quote from Howard Aiken, which is kind of, it's not difficult to stop people stealing your ideas. It's actually trying to make them steal your ideas. I think this is more relevant to computing maybe, but you understand the point. And sometimes you need companies that have a vision to actually be able to kind of take on your idea and run with it. In terms of transferring knowledge, there's a lot of satisfaction you get out of it. You're solving difficult problems. You're seeing it applied. You see the social benefits, perhaps, of that. You may make money out of it. That's a good idea. You know, and you may get your name known, but that's not really why you should be doing it. You should be doing it for just the personal satisfaction of seeing your idea working and other people benefiting from it and building on it. Obviously, there are some downsides. The more people know your name, the more people there are to criticise you when things go wrong. So, you know, there's a thing about the .com backlash there. A lot of people, you know, didn't want their name known a little while later. So, you know, be careful about these things. So, my conclusion is, the take-home message is really, try to change the way people in your field do their work, even if it's in a really small way. But if you just get a few citations on some of your papers, you know that people have listened to what you've said and that you've actually influenced them. And you never know where that could go in the future. You know, there's this idea about standing on the shoulders of giants, but you never know who the giants are until you look backwards. So, you know, you never know. A small idea one day can become a big idea, something that creates something else in the future. So try to do real stuff, you know, be self-critical, and, you know, at the end of the day, it's you, the young researchers and students, who are really the coin of the academic work realm. You're the people we work with. You're the people that actually allow us to kind of push boundaries, and you push boundaries yourself, and over time, one day, you'll be leading research and enjoying that side of things as well. So I just want to encourage you all to really stick with it. It's great to see you all here, and with that, I'll conclude. Thank you.